Are you able to track somewhat of a return from that?
To track the ROI, it's difficult in the sense that I know if I'm consistent with my video, that my clients are always going to see me, that I'm top of mind.
Are you still making like cold calls and door knocking right now, or is that something that you don't really need to do because you have just the flow of business coming in from referrals?
Yeah, great question. So no, so I'm definitely not cold calling or door knocking anymore.
What are you doing that's different than the other people?
But one big thing was to go through the coaching process.
Who's your ideal customer?
The ideal client really is everybody. I have a 13-year-old boy, right? And he's like, we're at the stage where he's like, Dad, there's no girl, no girls like me. No, I'm like, we're just, we're in a situation where there's so many people out there. There's the whole fish in the sea type of thing. I'm like, you're going to connect with the people that you want to connect with, and you just be yourself. Don't try to act as if. Don't try to act as if you're somebody that you're not, just to impress somebody else. So it's kind of like a similar analogy, yeah. I think.
Did you help him with his script?
No, I'm like, bro, this is on you. I don't know.
He left that meeting on the phone. He's like, you see that, Jessica? I'm getting lit. I'm saying this.
He's like, Jessica, it was so nice to meet you during recess.
Exactly.
World-class lessons from the real estate industry's top 1%, empowering agents to think bigger and do more to create life by design. Get access to exclusive interviews with top producing real estate professionals. Listen in as we talk about their journey into business, best practices, and lessons learned. Hosted by Kiro Nasrallah and John Scipione.
I mean, one thing that we always say in our office is just action is better than perfection, right?
This is Light It Up with Lighthouse Residential.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Light It Up podcast. We are thrilled to have with us today Brooks Landry. He has a brokerage based in the Bay Area. They did last year $79 million in total volume. He's a solo agent, 12 years in the business. And in addition to all of that, you have a content creation team called Envision, right?
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
Yep.
Where you're helping agents put out real estate related content. Yeah, man, super excited to have you here.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate the warm welcoming.
Of course. There's a lot of people applauding in the background here.
Yeah, right.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us on a Friday afternoon. We always appreciate having people like you with so much experience and people who are so active, of course, especially with social media. That's actually how you and I had connected a few months back. Yeah. I really appreciated some of the content you were putting out in this crazy world of real estate that we all
how were we thinking getting into real estate? You know what I mean?
That we all live in. I thought that some of the material you were putting out was really great, so I had reached out and asked you to be on the show, and thankfully you said yes.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. So we always like to start out with a lightning round where we ask nothing related to real estate and totally, I think these are pretty PG. We had Dan O'Neill on last week, and those were not PG.
Yeah. Well, this is still the rated R box.
We were looking for blood last week, trying to embarrass him. We knew his girlfriend was watching, so wanted to make sure that we put him in an uncomfortable position. So,
for sure.
Right.
All right, man. Kiro, you hit it.
All right. So first question is, would you do 3 years in prison for $10 million?
Yes.
You didn't see that coming?
That was very easy. All right.
Awesome. Let's see. Is college and university education still worth it these days?
No.
Nope.
All right.
That.
If you could invite 3 people to dinner, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Who? Shoo. Wow. My mother. She passed away a few months back. I would do. God, it'd probably just be family. It's probably just going to be the grandparents and my mother, I would say. Yeah. Jesus, guys, you hit me right in the stomach with that one.
We're trying to get your vulnerable side.
I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah, so sorry for your loss, man. That's
no, thank you.
That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing. It's funny where people's minds go. I mean, my immediate reaction, I don't know who your thought was, but Jim Rohn. I'd invite my mom, though, too. She's still around, but I think my mom would appreciate Jim Rohn. I don't know who my third would be.
It's a tough three to get, you know.
That's easy for me. Rockefeller, Carnegie, and then Vanderbilt.
Boom.
Wow. Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Maybe Hitler.
You're gonna
too.
wear a
Maybe
tuxedo,
just- I'd
too?
just be curious. Maybe. Just curious to see how he
And
thinks.
what are we drinking at that? Are we? I mean, is it champagne or is it a bourbon? Like, is it a beer? Like, what do you have at that dinner?
Problem is that Rockefeller doesn't drink, so it would be that's kind of creepy that I'm saying that. Yeah, he doesn't drink, so it would be two belligerent, guys and one just sitting in the background, just watching.
For sure.
All right, here we go. Fill in the blank. Men need to do better at blank.
Listening.
Yeah, I've been told that one before.
Yep. My wife, when she watches this, will say, "You nailed that. You nailed that."
Nailed it.
See, you were listening, Brooks. It's exactly what I've been telling you.
Can you please repeat the question?
Exactly. Like, what did you say?
That'd be good.
I remember asking him the question, but I didn't hear what he said.
All right. What's the best book you've read or movie you've watched?
Giftology was a good book. I'm big on gifts. That was a while ago, though. To my database, that is movies. It's funny because my wife loves these, like, what I call these movies that'll never happen, like these sci-fi, type of things. I'm like, I need like mob stuff. I want to know stuff that happened that potentially could have happened. So I'm all about that type of stuff. But giftology for the book for sure.
We could tell by the answer to the first question. Would you do 10 years for, or was it? Would you do 3 years, for 10
in
million?
jail. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 for 10.
Yeah. You would really
I
like.
don't know if I'd make it. I'd do my best. But.
There's a guy named Jordan Peterson. I'm butchering his name. He has a podcast.
Oh. It's the Wolf of Wall Street.
No. That's Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
This one's
Belfort, yeah.
Peterson. He has a podcast with a couple of mafia bosses that, like, he goes over like the organization. That you would geek out on that. That's an awesome show.
I love it. I mean, I watch that stuff all the time as much as I possibly can. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It just...
It's the realtor inside of you coming out.
Well, you're talking to two guys from Jersey, so
right.
Sopranos was filmed about 2 miles up the road.
Yep.
Was it? Yeah.
And where our office is like where
Right next
a lot of people have allegedly disappeared in the Meadowlands. So just happens. Just happens. I got one more for you. Is it okay if your fiance wants to invite their ex to the wedding?
Yeah, that's fine.
Wow, nice guy.
Yeah, very nice.
I guess it depends on how it
Not my
ended.
wedding.
Yeah, right.
She's not my wedding. They're at my wedding, right? I got her. So
Fair enough. All right, so it's a show. All right, cool, man. Well, hey, I guess for starters, if you could walk us through and just paint a picture of how you started in the business. I know earlier you said you've been in the real estate industry, whether it's mortgage or sales, for 18 years. Can you talk about how you started your journey into that to where you are now?
Yeah, so I moved. Actually, I'm from kind of your neck of the woods. I grew up in Maine. I'm from New England. My parents are from my dad's from Boston. So I moved from Maine to California at a week before my 21st birthday, which was an interesting couple of weeks for the first time being in California. But I immediately got into the mortgage industry, and I was cold calling for a lender in San Diego, 6 days a week, just originating applications, bringing in, the full application, passing them off to the loan officer, then eventually started to kind of graduate into doing second mortgages, originating firsts, and kind of doing my own thing. For the first 7 years of my time in California was mortgage and originating team loans and running a couple small teams, and then move on a little bit, fast forward a little further into 2009, 2010, where it was a hell of a time to get into real estate. I said, let's get into real estate. And it was the most difficult thing to be able to pull any sort of business. My entire sphere of influence, my family, everybody's in the East Coast. I only know lenders and realtors, so they're not giving me business. So I got a coach and started door knocking and religiously, just every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for a little over 2 years, consistently in this one farm, and just kind of build my brand and be consistent with it, where they saw me enough, and I'd grab data and email addresses. So if I was knocking on John's door, I'd immediately hit him with a video after. Hey, John, it was awesome to meet you. Thanks for letting me bother you on Saturday. Blah blah blah. I'm a resource if you need anything in the industry. I'm here to help, and then just continue to kind of build it that way. So, I've run teams, I've run brokerages, I've owned brokerages. I've leaned out over the last probably 2.5 years from having a good sized team to just being a solo agent with myself, my transaction coordinator, and then other businesses on the side, including Envision and a couple other businesses my wife and I own.
Awesome, man.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the coaching? So what coaching were you involved in? And was the video your idea, or was that what was coached to you as well?
No, so the coaching was in the Tom Ferry Network. So Eileen Rivera, if anybody familiar with the Tom Ferry Network, she's an absolute monster, unbelievable wealth of knowledge. So she had, I couldn't afford it. We threw in all of our chips and was paying monthly on Tom Ferry coaching with her. And she had essentially just said, for you to get into an industry or to get into an area, you need to find a farm of 1,000 people, 1,000 home farm. You need to religiously hit that with door knocks, door drops, and direct mail pieces. But an interesting piece of advice, she had said that the farm you find needs to be you need to find a farm that's dominated by the biggest hitters in the area. So coincidentally was my backyard. So naturally I'm like, I'm a young scrub. I did mortgages, and now the market, is tanking. I'm getting into real estate. Why would I want to get into a place where it's being dominated by the people that are doing 4, 5, 6, 700 million a year in transactions? And she had said, you don't understand how many people don't want to work with those big top producers. There's so much low hanging fruit for you to be able to take advantage of it, leverage it properly, and then eventually start to take over that area. And it's to this day, it's me and those top agents essentially that are in the listing table when it comes to bringing business. So the video side of things, I just wanted to do something a little bit different. It was right around when YouTube, I think, was starting off. And really what I was doing was every day of the week, I would get a list of pre-foreclosures that were hitting the market. And I would do a quick video. For example, if I'm, in San Francisco, I do a video of, 50 homes are soon to hit the market this week, or 50 homes have had pre-foreclosure notice this week. Here's 25 of them. I give them a link. And then I'd say for the other 25, you need to go to sendmeforeclosures.com. And I would do this little video and I would just plaster it through Craigslist every single day, multiple times a day. And we were pulling in a ton of leads. My follow-up game was weak at best. So I definitely let a lot of business go by the wayside, but that was my kind of introduction into getting into video, was just bringing as much value as I possibly could. So it worked out.
That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot there. I was telling Kiro, what's funny is, and I wasn't even planning to go down this road. It's funny when Kiro brings a guest to the show, he's a lot more prepared than I am. So sometimes the 30 minutes before, I'm like, so who the hell are we talking about today? Who are we talking to?
Right.
And so today, obviously, you were my guest. So Kiro was like, hey, so who are we meeting with today? This guy, Brooks. I've seen him on Instagram, but tell me more about him. And then I started telling him about you, and he's like, oh, that's the guy that sent you the video. And I was like, oh, shit, he is. So it's just interesting to me how memorable it was to Kiro. And then, of course, I remember the video you sent me. And what the unfortunate part about the video, and by the way, for people watching this, he was totally dressed, and it wasn't like one of those, one of those weird DM videos you get. He was totally clothed.
With just my feet. That was it.
Yeah, we started with the toes. He kept,
Your wife and your kids are like, "What the hell?"
If you want to see
doing?
the rest of these, if you want to see the rest of these toes, go to preforeclosure.com. So no, you had sent me the video, and I said the unfortunate part about it was such a cool video, and I felt like it was specific to me. It wasn't like a generic video, of course, that you just blasted out on Instagram. But I was like, I wanted to show Kiro again, and the DM videos disappear. So,
yeah, I got that from you. Do you guys follow Ed Stulock?
No,
you got to follow Ed. He's with Real. The guy's the dopest. It's super helpful. Just the guy is just like a wealth of knowledge. But I stole that from him, and I'd overheard that everybody that follows him, he'll hit back with a quick little video. Just, hey, thanks for the follow. Blah blah blah. The engagement obviously goes through the roof, but it's more of a more personal, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of instead of somebody just randomly following you and whatnot. But no, it definitely did not think of that on my own. He's definitely the godfather of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I am not one to really be up to date on Facebook, and so every once in a while I'll go on. And I remember I went on for my birthday, I think this year, and on your birthday you get all those messages on your board. Like my Facebook's pretty quiet, I think, until my birthday. And I realized there was another agent who had sent me a happy birthday video on my birthday every year for like the last 4 years, and I had never opened the messages. But I was just appreciative of the fact that I'm like, holy shit, this dude logs on every day, sends a quick video to everybody whose birthday it is.
Yeah.
That he's friends with on Facebook. I'm like, that is super personable. I mean, for me, it didn't have the most impact because I don't check that often, but I think that's a nice touch.
There's a guy in San Diego with EXP, Kyle Whistle. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, Whistler or Whistle. He does that. And I overheard him at one of these video meetups that we had. And I'm like, God, that's classic. It's perfect. You're just hitting anybody that follows you. And but he does that. He's really good about that.
Yeah, the only tough part is you have to actually like look halfway decent each and every day, right? Like there's days I don't necessarily look as sharp as I do today.
Oh yeah. No, it's pretty interesting because you did this 11 years ago before video was a thing, right? We had, what was it? MySpace, and then Instagram was just still photos. And then when the videos came in, there was a lot of more stats with engagement on there, and that's where like people were saying people are staying on these videos for a lot longer. These are better ways to promote ads and sell ads on social. But on top of that, there was a lot more connection with the person that's being on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
There was a story that was shared with us in February, and the guy was looking to buy a boat, and the wife hated salespeople. And the sales guy who was selling this specific boat sent them a video saying, "Hey, I'm so excited to have you guys aboard. See you guys later today at 2:00, yada, yada, yada." When the guy and his wife went to see the salesperson, the wife hugged the salesperson like she knew him because she felt like there was some sort of relationship there, like they've seen each other before.
Yeah.
So it's pretty powerful doing that overall, but it's crazy how you did that 11 years before it became known.
Yeah, it was definitely something. It's and I tell this with all of our members that sign up and work with us, or just agents that are within our network at Real. It get to the point where if I wasn't being consistent with my video updates to my clients, I'd get emails back. Brooks, are you too busy? Did you, are we not doing this anymore? Because it would just, I was religious with it. And it's funny because I just had I was meeting with one of our members a couple hours ago on a podcast, and they were talking about public speaking. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do public. It's just whatever I can. She's like, how? You're on video all the time. You're constantly it's just a completely different beast for me. I don't know if you guys feel the same type of way, but I'm not a public speaker, but I can just all day on the video all day long.
Yeah. No, it's not second nature for me. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
But you have to, I think it's a learned trait, and I think over time you can certainly get better at it, but it's definitely not second nature for me.
Yeah.
So I think now is probably a good segue into some of the work that you and your company have been doing in Vision. And just to, reiterate for maybe people who are joining a little bit later, tell us a little bit about Envision, why you started it, and sort of what your niche is.
Yeah. So we started really out of necessity. So again, I've always done video to kind of promote myself, my brand, my listings, buyer consultations, testimonials, key days, those type of things. But a few years ago, everybody had basically the same type of videos when it comes to the listing video. They had the same kind of piano in the background. It was like the same drone. Everything was the same look besides the house, 3 minutes long. And my business partner and I were lucky enough to meet with who is now our third business partner, Guillermo, who's this video editing mastermind. He's just amazing with the camera, amazing in post edit as well. And we said, we want things a little bit different. We want to completely switch the game up. So when it comes to listing videos, we got rid of the piano. We threw some DMX in the background. We threw some Wu-Tang. We changed some things up. It made it more kind of dance, more hip hop, more catchy stuff, and different cuts, different looks, and unique drone shots. And then we just started kind of doing our own listing videos. And then it started to catch on. Other agents were like, "I love what you guys are doing. Can you do it for us?" Big companies. We did work with Xbox and Microsoft and a bunch of real estate companies out here where we handle a lot of their stuff, their listing videos. And then it started to kind of morph into going back on the content of just being top of mind to your database. So we created a content day essentially. So we've got a studio in-house here in the Bay Area podcast room, big studio out back, a big editing space, a handful of offices that we use as our real estate space as well. And we would have agents come in, and they'd shoot with us for about 4, maybe 5 hours, depending on the package they had. We have a team of writers that comes up with scripts specific to the relevant scripts and topics that are happening right now. For example, rates going from 3 to 7% back to 6.5. How is the real estate market locally going to adjust with, after the midterm elections? How is that going to affect? But then again, we'd sprinkle in some evergreen stuff like 1031 exchanges, the benefits and features of an FHA loan versus, a VA or a conventional deal. And we really kind of made these topics that the three of us here all the time when we're with clients, buyers or sellers, when we're at the table, we take these topics and we kind of break them down into more of like a layman's terms type of thing where our clients understand it. You can talk about 1031 exchanges, but it's not really sexy, but kind of breaking it down in a way that makes sense. So our clients will come in for about 4 or 5 hours. We'd shoot and they'd leave after we were finished editing with about 35 pieces of content, short form, that they can hit on their social media, that they can, most importantly, stay top of mind to their database. And then it just started to kind of morph into our newest service, which is a virtual content day. And essentially, we're working with agents all over the country, and eventually we'll be getting up into Canada, where we batch their content. They get 12 videos a month. We have a team that comes up with the scripts. We walk through the process of shooting and editing. We do it. We edit for you. We have an app that posts to social media platforms, so you can simply set it and forget it. But that's kind of like the evolution of Envision Media. But it started off out of necessity. It's something we needed to be a little bit different. And then it's just kind of morphed into where it's at right now, where it's essentially just a full-blown content creation for realtors, lenders, and then we're going to start moving into insurance, financial planning, the service-based industry that you can break these topics down to make the consumer understand it a little better through video.
Yeah. Did you see how passionate he was explaining that?
Yeah.
You're like, fuck real estate. You're like, this is dope. Just to share the benefits, because we always have a hard time tracking the ROI of social, and I keep saying social, I sound like a punk saying that, of like posting stuff on social media and stuff like that. For you, how has it made an impact for you in your personal business?
Yeah.
Providing what you're now trying to make public to everybody else, and are you able to track somewhat of a return from that?
It's great. It's really difficult to track that return on video, because what we put out, what I've been putting out, is more consumer. A lot of it's I'd say like a 50-50 consumer based and then realtor based type of thing. As I'm with a brokerage that has a revenue share option. So being able to kind of connect with realtors all over the country, show them so there's a few different angles that we have at it. To track the ROI, it's difficult in the sense that I know if I'm consistent with my video, that my clients are always going to see me, that I'm top of mind. Yeah. Has there been times where I've got calls specifically for my video? Yes. And said, I love what you're doing. In fact, I got a listing about a month ago, and he said, your videos are better than everybody else's. And essentially, I'm going to hire you for that amongst, some other, I've been in the area for a while and had a lot of success. So that had a good return on it. But to be able to track it, it's difficult. My best analogy is almost like the direct mail pieces, right? Like you've got a farm and you're just hammering with direct mail. You're consistent with it. They consistently see you. This is a form for us to be able to do it through their social media and through their inbox with video. So I think it's just the more you're consistent with it, you're going to see that return easily.
Yeah.
So let me ask in a different way. Are you still making like cold calls and door knocking right now, or is that something that you don't really need to do because you have just the flow of business coming in from referrals?
Yeah, great question. So no, so I'm definitely not cold calling or door knocking anymore. But it's one of those things where I enjoyed door knocking. I liked it. I'd get out, I'd get a little bit of, I'd get some exercise. In California where it rains 3 days a year, it's like 75 for the most part. So I've definitely got the environment to be able to take advantage of it. And I made some really good connections. It's funny, I talked to a lot of agents and newer agents that are joining the network or just within us, and asking questions like, how do I break into door knocking? Or I'm scared of door knocking. And it's like, you'd be surprised how many people would rather have you knock on their door to introduce themselves versus flood their mailbox with mailers. I can't tell you how many beers I've drank with people in my farm where they're like, Jesus, it's hot, come inside. And like we'd sit there and I'd build a relationship with, when they were ready, I'd represent them. And that's kind of shows where the consumer still for the most part wants you to, and this was pre-Ring doorbell, by the way. So, I think probably the Ring doorbell has maybe brought these numbers of successful door knocks down. But long answer to your question, no, I'm not doing it anymore. But one thing I am doing is I'm incorporating video into my farm. So again, I went heavy on door knocking for a while, and this year, part of my 23 plan is to incorporate what we call thumb mails, not the thumbnail, thumb mail, where essentially it's a direct mail marketing piece that is going over a video of, for example, a successful sale that I had representing two people getting a divorce. Not the dirtiness of it, but kind of how we helped overcome that with a QR code attached to it. So you're going to QR code the direct mail. It's going to go back to a funnel that I just built. So I'm getting rid of my website, your typical IDX. I think everybody searches on Zillow and Redfin for the most part, Realtor.com for the homes. So I've got a funnel that's built out of just videos that it's got a retargeting aspect to it. And it's got a lead capturing portion of it too. So they're going to get these mailers in the mail. They're going to see what the title is based off the thumbnail, if you will, with a QR code that will capture some data. And I think that's a way where I can incorporate my digital door knocking with video altogether. We'll see. I could fail miserably, but it's definitely worth a shot.
No, dude, that sounds like a great plan. So I'm going to translate this for John. Did you
Yeah.
Okay. Did you?
You translated though.
So he's like, please tell me. No,
No, he thinks he's like a ClickFunnels expert.
No. I'm
Because,
just, I've been learning a lot about it over the last couple months.
Please speak slowly.
Yes. So it was, so essentially someone goes onto the website, shows a level of interest. So then he's paying for PPC for them to get captured. Once they get captured, he's retargeting them, knowing this is the person I need to send a mailer to about X, Y, and Z. And then just you're hounding them. What's your cadence for following up with them? And
they'll get a video back immediately. If we get past if we have some good conversation, I do things a little bit different, kind of going back to the giftology thing that we were talking about earlier. So when I would door knock, and this may answer the question, but when I would door knock, we'd have a good conversation. Me and John, we'd shoot the shit. We'd have a good conversation. You'd actually get a 6-pack of Sherry's berries delivered 2 days later. It'd be like, hey, thanks, chocolate covered strawberries. It'd be sweet to work with you type of thing. So you've got something in the mail. Almost 100% of the time I'd get follow callbacks from clients and build a relationship that way. So with this being a newer service, likely it's going to be the follow-up with the video, then it'll be the text, and maybe just put them in a drip campaign until we've had enough conversation where I can build a rapport to actually get in front of them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty sweet. So in terms of relation, like when you're direct in front of the consumer, you're able to connect with them and you're very thoughtful, especially with giftology and providing, I guess the law of reciprocity, or you're implementing on that, and a big believer in that. Have you tracked what the return is on there? So if you knock on 100 doors, do you know what that conversion would be when you're nurturing those people?
I don't. And it's been so long.
He's an analytical.
Yeah. I just do it. Go knocking and see if it works. No, it's funny because there'd be different times of the day, different times of the season where I would get most return, or I'd be able to, be face to face with clients or with anybody that was knocking. It's very difficult for me to have been able to do that. Plus, I don't think I've door knocked in probably 4 or 5 years. It's been a while. Yep.
Yeah, I think though, like we've heard from a lot of people, it's just, when you do these sort of exercises, whether it's door knocking or the mailers, right? It's just staying top of mind, right? Yeah. You can't always put your finger on like, hey, that transaction came from, this sort of outreach, and this one came from this outreach. It's sort of just, you have to have a line item, in my opinion, in the budget that just says, top of mind marketing. Yeah. And it unfortunately is one of those things where you can't necessarily say, hey, I spent $50,000 last year on Zillow leads and we got, $500,000 worth of Zillow clients, right? I think it's one of those things where it's going to be a little bit of a gray area, and you can't equate all the dollars and cents that have come back, but you do it because you have to stay top of mind.
Yeah, and it's something that you're right. You do account for, this is my top of mind budget for the most part at the beginning of the year. So like as I start, like for example, right, this is the perfect season where I give out Thanksgiving pies. I get a free, anybody who's interested gets a free Thanksgiving pie, and I blanket the neighborhood. We just sent 11,000 mailers out to homeowners for a free Thanksgiving pie. We never get that many people back, but last year I think we delivered like 275 pies. But that has a return that takes a little bit longer down the line. It's to the point where they expect it. I'm reading I was reading one of the messages, one of the comments, and they're like, I loved the pie last year. It was a little too sweet. Can you not make it as sweet? I'm like, first of all, it's a free pie. Okay. Yeah. I don't bake this. It's a free pie, but it's crazy. Dude, you guys, I'm sure see these type of things all the time, but yeah, that is kind of my top of mind type of deal. I always try to make sure that I'm front and center, and I'm somebody that they think of, and hopefully I made a lasting relationship through video or at the door or with the pies or at open houses that they've come in, and they're like, you know what, I'd consider interviewing him.
You're the pie guy. You're the pie guy.
Pie guy.
No, it's I was always afraid to do the pie. We did the pies actually one year, and I remember it was funny. I was out giving them to past clients, although we didn't ask people if they wanted them. We were just going to drop by.
Yeah.
And I realized how many of my past clients had moved without me, without my help. I showed up. I'm like, hey, Bob. And they're like, oh, no, Bob was the prior owner. We just bought this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Son of a bitch, Bob.
Bob sold without me. Yeah. So do you want a pie? And I'll try to do a better job at staying in touch with you.
But that's what I appreciate about you, Brooks. It's because everybody gets addicted to the way that they make money, right? So if you're calling for sale by owners, you get good at it. You're like, this is all I'm going to do. If you're calling expireds and you get really good at it, this is all I'm going to do. And you don't adapt because you're just addicted to that way of making that money. But your main focus wasn't about the money. It was about remaining front of mind and not about the process, but about actually like them thinking of you nonstop and being there. So that allows you to adapt much quicker than the person that's addicted to the process of how they used to do it, because then they look at it as if there's an error in the process versus they're not thinking of the strategy right. So they're playing a different game entirely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I watched my old man do it. He had an insurance brokerage back in Maine, and he would do this all the time. He would send out little mailers. He would send out. He built it from the phone book, essentially, just calling and sending out mailers. And then his good clients, he gave these little Thanksgiving and holiday gifts. But there's so many different ways to originate business in this industry. But I think being top of mind is, I would argue, probably one of the most important. We do. Have you guys ever heard of Client Giant?
Yeah, they actually just came up on another call.
Did it?
Is the one that you put like periodical and it just automatically sends them stuff? Yeah.
It's a game changer. I mean, we set it up, and I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like $100 a client per year. But they'll send out four different gifts throughout the year, and every now and then I'll get bombarded with text messages. Oh, thank you for the gift. Thank you for the blanket or the wine glasses or whatever the case may be. But it's $100. It's a great investment. They stay top of mind, and every 3 months they're you're getting something from them. So it's if you haven't used it, definitely check them out. I will never not use that company.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good plug too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's funny. That's like the second or third time they've come up, on the show.
Yeah. So with the outcomes that you've had, how are you making the experience with the agents that subscribe or sign up with your social media marketing Envision, right?
Envision.
So what are you doing that's different than the other people? Just to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and there's definitely other people that are in the creating the content game for the agent or for the lender. We do things a little bit different in the sense that we'd had so many agents in house do these content days. We know what these headaches were. We knew what to overcome. So when we wanted to really scale this and push this on a national basis, we needed to figure out, first of all, how do they shoot the video? Well, the quality of the camera on your cell phone is comparable to a lot of stuff that we actually have in house. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of clients that have their own camera set up. They've got their own mics. They've got the whole background, the ring lights, all that good stuff. So we wanted to overcome that, but one big thing was to go through the coaching process. So when we're going through each script and we're working with everybody on tonality and how to emphasize specific words, maybe talk with your hands, your mannerisms, we needed that coaching aspect still available. So the way that we do that is through Zoom. So essentially, we're on a Zoom call. We've provided all the content. You're shooting. You've got the whole setup on your phone or from your camera, and we're going through line by line, and we're handling all of your content. So I think where we do things a little bit different is we do go through that one-on-one coaching as well as kind of like an accountability side of things. And then when you're finished, you're done. You upload it through the app that we built. It's Envision, INVZN app on Apple Store and Google Play. And you just simply upload it. It comes back to the house. We edit it for you, custom to your brand with captions, your font, your graphics, the whole 9 yards, good jump cuts, the whole 9 yards. And then we send it back to you, and it's connected to about 9 different social platforms. So it really is, we kind of built this around how I represent my sellers. So when I'm listing a property, I handle probably 95% of the heavy lifting. We stage, clean, paint, prep, lands, the whole 9 yards. Our entire team of vendors handles it. So our sellers can sit back and say, let's get moving on the sales process, or at least packing. We took that into this. And some realtors listening to this will be like, oh, that's not me. No. The way it works is a lot of realtors, if you don't do it for them, they don't do it. And so essentially we handle everything from A to Z, really, when it comes to the creation, the editing. We even have an option so that automatically posts to social platforms for them. It's 2 hours a month that they invest into video marketing, and they get 12 videos every month out of it.
Wow. Are you able to talk about pricing, or is it sort of a la carte?
Yeah, so we've got it's a $149 setup fee to kind of get the whole process going and built out, get the avatar and get the whole system dialed in with fonts and everything. And then it's $579 a month. So $579 a month is going to get you 12 videos. It breaks it down to about $48 a video to have content that's relevant, that's edited professionally, and then it's posted on your behalf. And then on top of that, every new member that we start off with, we actually start off on a podcast similar to this, like we were talking about with Riverside. I just signed a big team here in the Bay Area that we had their podcast this morning. So we kind of chop it up a little bit, learn about them, why real estate, what makes them tick. Talk to me about your thoughts on Open Door losing $1 billion a month or whatever. They're, all kinds of little like things that are changing in the industry. And then we send them our podcast, and we chop that up for them for about 12 to 15 short form videos. So our whole purpose is let's get these short form clips from the podcast out to them while we're building out your bi-weekly call. So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of it was, damn, that was a long answer to your question, but a lot of it is we really do just try to kind of handle it all, because we understand how important it is for realtors to be on video, but most importantly, when they're on video, speak with, I don't know, to know what they're talking about. They want to be the authority figure, and most importantly, want to be top of mind. So we've got that all dialed in for them.
Would you say it's people, like, who's your ideal customer? Is it somebody who sort of does content on their own, but they're not really doing it consistently, or they're not doing it really well? Or is it somebody who's just like, I have no idea where to start?
Both. So we've got people that have signed up that I wouldn't have ever thought would have signed up, just because they're pretty dialed in, they're pretty polished when it comes to it. But that time factor is a big deal. So everybody knows they need to get it done. They just, you have a handful of escrows, you've got kids, maybe, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of things that kind of push it off. So the ideal client really is everybody. Is for the most part from A to Z. I think it's the brand new agents. What's really good is the kind of the younger agents that are like, they've been staring at their phone for the past however many years, and they've done the selfies, and they've done the videos, and they're on all of these social platforms. They get it. One customer is a little bit older in age that isn't familiar with social, hasn't embraced the fact that if you're not in video, if you're not staying top of mind, showing your mannerisms and the fact that you're an expert in the space, those who haven't embraced that, I find it's a little bit more difficult. But again, that's where the coaching goes through, and
Sure.
we literally work with them line by line on every one of the scripts. So I do Tom Ferry coaching, and at the end of each one of my calls, it's a lot of, recommendations. It's a lot of kind of, slap in the butt, go get them, Tiger type of thing, right? I've given you what you can do and it's great. I've always used them, and I'll continue to invest into that business. But at the end of our coaching calls, you walk away with 6 videos on each call. And then at the end of the month, you can actually gauge your social media. You can see the likes, the follows, how your social presence is growing, which is the sexy part, right? Oh yeah. But where a lot of people need to bring this into is their database. It's their CRM, the people that know, like, and trust you already. So
I'm not sure I understood that correctly. So you're actually coaching your clients on how to do the video, and you said at the end of each call they have 6 videos.
Yep. So every month, so it's a bi-weekly session. On every call, it's an hour call each. On each call, we go through 6 scripts, and when you're finished with the 6 scripts, you'll upload them, and then we'll edit them, send it back to you within about 7 to 8 days. Is on average is what our turnaround time is, and then once you get them back, you're able to post it. So yeah, we walk you through line by line by line every single script that we go through. When you're finished that script, we move on to the next one,
and you're actually filming on that call.
Yep.
Okay. So you're sort of saying like, hey, John, say this, this, and this.
Yeah.
I read it back, and then you're like, all right, that sucked. Do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then at the end of the call, we walk away with some footage that we can use.
You've got it uploaded to the team. So then the team starts editing it, and within about 7 days, we turn it back over to you. But yeah, exactly what you said. Say this line. Awesome. Say it a little bit different. Maybe emphasize this word a little bit more. You didn't look at the camera. Let's do this again, type of thing. And we're doing it through Zoom, but you're shooting it either on your camera or on your cell phone, whatever you've got set up as the space. We've got a big Kajabi course that we've built out as well that's got best practices on everything from camera angles to lighting to microphone options, from the cheapest to the most expensive. We've got, at what volume do you want to upload your video to TikTok? There's so many, like, all kinds of little stuff that every little pain point that we've come across over the past almost 2 years, year and a half of doing content days in-house, we've built out little videos to kind of walk them through the process. So it's a pretty dialed in system. Yeah.
And it's pretty affordable in comparison to like other options that are available, especially starting from scratch. Even if you wanted like a VA to do it, it could be comparable, but your time invested into it is significantly more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When first,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that, a VA can help you, but you need to have the direction, right? I mean, a VA can help you do anything you want to do, but if you don't know what to tell them and you don't know how to hold the camera or what, microphone to buy, then, you're lost.
And even just the creation of the scripts, we've got, we're pretty dialed in with how to structure the flow of a script. But we have a couple writers that we've been working with that handles it. They'll write it, and then we'll adjust it into, kind of real estate lingo, if you will. But, have a good hook, have a good interest piece, maybe a call to action at the end, solve a problem in the middle of it, but kind of keep it quick and short and have the right cadence. There's a lot that goes into it. You'd be surprised. When I first started doing this on my own a couple of years ago, actually, was when I really kind of turned this up before we opened Envision. I would sit down and I'd write this script that would take me like 3 hours. And then I'd do the script. My lighting sucked. I echoed. The whole thing was a mess. I'd send it to Fiverr. 4 days later, I'd get it back from Fiverr. It was like $300 later. I'm like, I can't be consistent with this,
That's not scalable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult to on top of that, you've got a handful. I do a good amount of business yearly. So I represent developers and whatnot, and I'm being pulled in a bunch of different ways. So being able to have it completely dialed in for me, 2 hours a month, it's of actually investing into your time for video marketing, and then you have it finished. I mean, at the end of the year, our members would have sent through about 150 to 160 short form videos through their social media and their database by doing this program.
I got to tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Talk to us about the focus of the video. I mean, are some people coming to you saying, because everybody has a focus, right? I mean, like we were talking about, we had Katie Day on the show a couple weeks back, and her focus seems to be more educational for it, right? And educating buyers and sellers. Other people just sort of do funny stuff to get more attention. Some of it's agent attraction. Can you coach people with, different focuses? And what if people have no focus?
Yeah. So the way we have our scripts built out is more consumer based. It's less on, and the reason we do it that way versus, and it's kind of contradictory if you look at my Instagram, because I do a lot with kind of agent based and kind of just having fun with the business. But when it comes to the membership and our paying clients, we have all of these scripts and all this content created on the consumer side, because if you can get to the consumer, you're going to build more business. You're going to have more success in it, which is going to immediately translate into the recognition from other realtors or other brokers or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it's best just to be 100% consumer side on it. But then your Instagram, you can have fun with it, and, make fun of yourself like a lot of us do.
So you can't coach me to be funnier.
No.
You're built that way.
It's worth a shot.
No,
It's
but
worth a shot.
I guess a good question would be, so, I guess if you were to put a client, like if we were to go to a client's house, it would be an easy presentation. Presenting in person to an audience is a struggle. Presenting on video is a struggle. What are some pieces of advice that you would give for someone trying to improve? What are some key things that they should be focusing on doing to get better at being able to shoot good quality videos?
Yeah, it's funny. I had a. Are you guys familiar with BombBomb?
Yeah.
You ever Bomb? So I've been using BombBomb forever, and when I first got into it, I went through their. They've got this little educational thing where it's like test these videos and do that. I was speaking with a lady last night that is going to be one of our members. She's like, I want to be a little bit more, comfortable on this. Like, how can I do my reps? Like, what reps would you give? And I just simply said, hey, I want you to message me right now what your average days on market is now versus where they were 6 months ago. Talk a little bit about how the price, how many price reductions are being said within your neighborhood, within your area that you specialize in. And it's all consistency. It's all just being really consistent with it. So my advice would just be, you just have to get out and start to just have conversations. Just do it through video. Don't even send it to anybody. Send it to your husband, send it to your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever the case may be, a good friend of yours, maybe a colleague, and get their advice out of it. But it's a repetition thing. I mean, my first video I ever did, it took hours to do that one video. I was like sweating through my shirt. I had to change my shirt like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, do I actually sound like this? I sound dumb. Do I like, nobody's going to listen to me,
I feel like that's similar to us with the very first 3 episodes of the podcast. I was about 4 or 5 drinks deep because I was so nervous and not nervous. I was never nervous to interview the person, because actually the first 4 or 5 guests were people that were pretty close to us, like in our network. Mm-hmm. I was never nervous about the guest. I was nervous about putting out something that was just not good quality. So I would psych myself out with making sure I had great, like you said, it took you 3 hours to write the script. I'd be like, I need to come to this podcast with 30 solid questions because, what if we run out of things to talk about? And it, for me, it was always a preparation thing. But I'm with you, man. Like I think the other thing too is just like you said, you look back at some of your videos and you had like an awful microphone or awful lighting. And I mean, I look at stuff we did 2 weeks ago and I'm like, we could have done that better. So, but you're your own biggest critic, right? I mean,
right.
You have to.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. That is but I think this is a competitive business that we're in, right? And you're seeing a lot of people that are doing this maybe at a significantly higher level than what you're doing or what you think you're doing. I always just say, just be yourself, just be you. Come in, like a lot of our podcasts that we do. It's I have a handful of questions that we'll ask, but for the most part, we're just shooting the shit. We're just kind of chatting. We're talking, like little things will spur a different idea, and like this, that, and the other. And a lot of it's just kind of a good communication. But yeah, it's a unique business that we're in, and then you're incorporating having to essentially pivot, right? And now everybody's like, I got to do video, and now you just see everybody and their mother getting out there, getting it done, and it's like, well, where do I rank within all of those? As long as you just be consistent, and you'll beat them with consistency, and I think that's the thing.
I almost compare it to like starting to make cold calls initially, right? Like you're hesitant to make calls at first because you're like, well, what if they hang up on me? What if they yell at me? What if they make fun of me? What if they say something? What if I say the wrong thing? Yeah. It's almost like you have to just be like, all right, the day that you realize like, I don't care what they say, or I don't care what their response is, like I'm doing this for me and to evolve and build my business, is the day that you just move forward, right? So it's the same thing as like doing the video and social. It's just like, hey, I'm going to put this out there, and if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't matter. I'm improving every day. I don't really care what people say. Right? That's like we were talking with Tyler Whitman from, I guess the agency now and $1 Million Listing, and that's exactly what he was saying too. Yeah. He's like, you have to just not give a shit.
Same thing. I had a call with Eric Broke Agent and Matt Leonetti, and Matt's like, I'm like, what kind of advice would you? He's like, dude, you just do it.
Just do it.
You just, who gives a shit, like, just be out there, just, get your, without hurting people's feelings, right?
Right.
But just do your own thing, because there's so many, I have a 13-year-old boy, right? And he's like, we're at the stage where he's like, Dad, there's no girl, no girls like me. No, I'm like, we're just, you're in a situation where there's so many people out there. There's the whole fish in the sea type of thing. I'm like, you're going to connect with the people that you want to connect with, and you just be yourself. Don't try to act as if. Don't try to act as if you're somebody that you're not, just to impress somebody else. So it's kind of like a similar analogy,
Yeah.
I think.
Did you help him with his script?
No, I'm like, bro, you got it. This is on you. I don't know.
He left that meeting on the phone. He's like, you see that, Jessica? I'm getting lit. I'm saying this.
He's like, Jessica, it was so nice to meet you during recess.
Exactly.
These kids all have phones
My
now.
dad told me to mind your goddamn business.
My dad said it's a numbers game, and all I got to do is talk to enough of you.
And I will have
Eventually, I'll have one of you. That's what it is. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But that's the thing. It's like, you see a lot of people on social where you're like, that's not you. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, I can see right through what you're doing here. And unless you're authentic, it's going to come across that way. But just be yourself, do your thing.
Yeah.
That's a good point. One of my buddies messaged me. I was telling John about this earlier. He was just like, why do you talk like you're scared when you're on the podcast? Like, some of the reels, it's like you're like elaborating, but that's not you. And I'm like, because it's tough to like deliver a point sometimes when like you're trying to, like, sometimes there'll be questions that you'll ask. And then, like, for instance, when we were doing those quick questions in the beginning and you're like, yes, no. When that happens with real questions that you're asking that you're really curious about and you get a yes or a no, you're like, shit, where do I go from here? So that's the hard part where you're like, now I'm like, well, let's just imagine for a minute that, you're door knocking and what car do you drive? Like, that's exactly what ends up happening, because you're like, shit, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Right.
Those are the things that are the hardest to do, to be able to adapt really quickly. But I think that happens, just like you said, with repetition and just being more authority with, I guess, being more intentional with what you're saying and how you're intending to come across.
Yeah. I think the analogy too of like, we always talk about recording like your voicemail on your phone. So we grew up in like the Mike Ferry world, and one of the coaches would always tell us, hey, think about your voicemail greeting when you recorded it initially, right? The first time you recorded it, your voice cracked and you're like, I got to do that again. The second time you did it, you're like, why was I putting on this weird, mysterious voice? Like, I'm not doing that. The third time you didn't say what you wanted to say. The fourth time, I mean, even doing the intro for this, I had to do it twice. So what I'm saying is, just going off the cuff sometimes, it may not sound right, but by doing it repeatedly, you sort of learn, the things you need to work on, I guess. Yeah. And even just playing these podcasts back, like when we're doing some editing and stuff, and I'm trying to give our editing people like some feedback on like the reels and stuff, I'm like, oof, I sound horrible, or why do I say like so much, or or I'm talking over you, or you're talking over me, or like I'm breathing heavy while the person's talking. It's just,
That's a personal gun at me, by the way.
yeah, the breathing heavy thing. But
I've been trying not to sniff into this. I'm like, oh.
So no, it's I think we're all learning as we're doing it, and the important part is actually starting to do it, whatever that may be, whether it's cold calling, whether it's putting out content, and whatever you do in the beginning is going to suck anyway. So just get past that part quicker.
Right. That's it. The whole get 1% better a day. At the end of the year, you're 365. You've exploded, and it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, just do the little things. And if it's just sitting down for an hour and just talking into the camera, and that's it, and sending it to a parent or a friend or somebody, that right there alone, and then watching that back. One thing, when I first got into it, I had to grow a beard because I looked like I was 12. By the way, and we'll talk about that.
That's why I don't shave mine off. Yeah,
because
if ever I'm like fixing the line down here and I go too high, I'm like, oh no, I can't go back. I can't go back.
Exactly. But that was like a big thing. It's like, I always had this. like I just look too young, and I'm like, as soon as I can start grinding, I'd like shave all the time. You know, I'm like, can I just get these damn hairs on my chin? You know? But yeah, everybody's got those whole "what do I look like, what do I sound like" type of things. But I don't know, just do you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like we were talking with Tyler Whitman about some of the content he puts out, and he's like, the ones that I thought would really, like the reels that he put out that he thought would really kill it, he's like, those get very few views, and he's like, the ones that I think are pretty weak, he's like, sometimes have more views than I could ever imagine. So
Yeah,
you never know. I think it's just putting it out there and seeing what happens.
yep,
If it really is driving you crazy, you could always delete it later.
That's true.
that's true.
One of the biggest takeaways, honestly, from this that I'm definitely going to try to implement is the videos per follower. Like when you get followers in there to send them a video to engage. We know a person who built a coaching business essentially through engaging with people who follow him, and he built a coaching business from not many followers. And it's just because the level of engagement there, it's a high level of quality, not quantity. And one of my buddies gave me this analogy a couple of years ago. He was like, I might not be a bodybuilder, but people would pay to learn to get in my like physical shape.
Right.
So it's like, you don't need to think you need to be all the way up to here when somebody would die to just be exactly where you are. So there's an immense amount of value that you have to offer just the way you are, and trying to portray yourself as not that and being something different is what throws you off in the sight of the audience that you're trying to appeal.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. The the attraction to 100,000, 500,000 followers, you don't need that, right? I mean, you just need a group of people that trust you, that understand that you're the go-to, and you can leverage that into a million different ways. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, regardless where you start, it's at least that you start. Like Giselle, I think I'm saying her name correctly, Giselle Ugarte. You guys know?
Yeah.
So her whole thing is just show me your receipts. Like, just get it done and just show me that you've actually did it. And that needs to be booked into your business model every year is something new. I think getting out of that comfort zone and kind of expanding those a little bit more. So I'm with you. I agree with you 100%.
Awesome,
Man.
Now, a question for you is for any listeners who want to sign up for Envision, if what should they do? How should they go about it? And is there any special timelines that if they signed up by that you'd hook them up with something special?
Yes.
Can we put a lighthouse code out there?
Yeah. So there's going to be. So we will be doing that, and we'll hit you guys up with that as well. That's something we've been talking a lot about over the last couple of weeks. Is just affiliate marketing type codes where there is a specific breakdown of that. So go to Envision Media on Instagram or TikTok, Facebook. Mostly Instagram is where we do a lot of our business out of, or just download the app Envision. INVZN app, and you can sign up for it right there. It's free. It doesn't cost anything to get moving on it. But yeah, we will start to kind of build out these affiliate marketing deals where we're able to give some sort of code or some sort of rebate back to the Light It Up podcast, and anybody that signs through gets there's a few different ways to make a couple bucks off it.
Not that I was trying to put you on spot for us to earn, but because there's a lot of people that we know that would utilize it, I think it's something that we would be interested in too. So it'd be great.
100%. Yeah, we've got a lot of a handful amount of pretty big influencers that we're going to start kind of like coding out type of deal. So yeah, that's definitely an angle.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate the time you spent with us. If anybody wants to reach out to you directly, what's the best way for them to do so, whether it's for content creation, whether it's for the Bay Area real estate market, referrals?
Yeah. Brooks Landry Group on Instagram, or the Video Realtor on TikTok. But then again, all my other accounts are linked to that as well. So check out Brooks Landry Group on Instagram or Facebook as well.
Awesome, man.